Welcome to Season 3 of the United by Coffee podcast, where our mission is to unite the world through coffee. And I'm Christy Ross.
Hey, I'm Greg Hess. How are you, Christy?
I'm great, thank you.
I feel like you've had some adventures since we were last doing the show. Did you just went to the coffee lab at UC Davis, is that right?
I did. Oh my God, and I loved it. I literally wanted to go back to college just so I could take Bill Ristenpart's classes.
Yes.
So, like, the work they're doing in coffee is exceptional, and it all started early on from trying to teach science with a class via coffee, and it has blossomed into this amazing program.
I love that. Is there any takeaway that you might have for a United by Coffee listener?
Well, first of all, I think anybody and everybody should go visit there and just take a class. I think probably the takeaway for me was seeing how they apply science when you're literally there and you see the depth of science education that goes along with coffee. Fascinating. So our guest today is Dehab Mesfin, the founder and general manager of Diamond Enterprise, Dahab Specialty Farm. For the past decade, she has built, run, and grown her coffee business, which includes green and roasted coffee, producing and exporting out of Ethiopia. Worth noting, she also has honey and tea. In addition, her farm is in the Kafa zone. We'll learn where that is and why that's important. Welcome, Dehab. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So you've been producing and exporting coffee for the past 10 years. What was the spark that led you to start your own company in coffee?
Yeah, for your surprise, I came to coffee business by coincidence. It was a chance that me and my husband were shareholders as a coffee farm, but we have never visited our farm. And when one of our partners passed away, we have to see the farm and then decide on how to go on. And when we got the farm and visited the natural forest there, we prefer to try on how to manage it.
You just figured it out. You dove in and you figured it out, which is very impressive.
What did you do before you were in coffee? Did you have a different career or profession?
Yeah, I'm an accountant by profession. I have been working as an accountant, as an auditor, as cost and budget division head, and as finance and administration in different companies.
So I come from accounting and finance early on in my career, and finance for the last 30 years. So one thing I will say is that having that foundation, understanding the numbers, really helps you jump into almost any industry. So you grow coffee and you produce honey. And so it appears that, like, your approach is different than we're used to seeing in the way that you've integrated. I want to say it's 300 or 330 hectares of coffee, which is about 650 acres in the Kafa forest. And I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. Kafa. But tell us a bit more about that and why the Kafa forest is so unique and important.
You know, internationally, there are about more than 700 biosphere reserves which are recorded by UNESCO. And 5 of them are found in Ethiopia. And what is special for my zone is 4 of the 5 registered by UNESCO in Ethiopia are found in southwest Ethiopia. And the biggest one of all is Kafa Biosphere Reserve, the location of my farm. It's about 540 hectares overall, including the transition zones. There are different zones. Inside the Kafa Biosphere, there is a core zone, a buffer zone, and a transition zone. So all of them included, it's about 540,000 hectares. It's big. At the beginning, I didn't even know about the Kafa Biosphere. I was only doing my farming, and it was a jungle, a forest. But once, as I told you, once I get involved in the business, I just started learning about coffee, about the forest, about everything. That's how I came to know about Kafa Biosphere Reserve.
Talk a little bit about the honey as well. When you took over the farm and learned about coffee, for honey, was that already there, or did you implement I should say, not growing honey, but producing honey?
So I coordinated with local NGO who works in supporting a marginalized society. So we developed a project, and then we choose 30 women, 15 from the very marginalized society, and 15 from the other part of the society, 30 women. And then, since we have the men have to help the women, we prefer to include them in the training too. So we train 60 people in modern beehive, how to do modern beekeeping, and how to identify the queen, how to harvest, how to transfer them to modern beehives, everything about beekeeping for about 7 days. It was a theoretical class and a practical class in the afternoon. And it was very interesting. Since they do it actually, they're doing it actually, especially the women, they are doing the practical job. So they learned how to create a simple beehives, which is not like the traditional, but a little bit modern one, and then how to transfer the queen to new locations.
Tell me just a little bit, what makes the honey unique?
October is the blooming time of all the flowers in Ethiopia. That's how the summer season starts, on October. So the harvested volume is very small, but it has high medicinal value. And the second one is end of March, which is very special. Since the beehives are located inside the coffee farm, and coffees bloom between February and March. So if we harvest in a very calculated way, we can call that it is a monofloral honey. Like when you open the jars for the honey, it smells like the coffee flower.
Wow.
And this one has also a good medicinal value as per the information that I collect from the society. The third one is at the beginning of June. It has also, we have big volume of that, but the tree is not as famous as the other ones. But the two harvest seasons are the major ones that we harvest. But the March harvest, we sell it under the name coffee honey, and it has very floral taste.
So the one thing that I read is a really, it's a fun fact, and for anybody who's not in coffee, may not know this, but I feel like this is a very well-known fun fact for people that are in coffee, and that when you look at the Kafa region, it's the birthplace, or thought to be the birthplace, of wild Arabica coffee, and this is sort of the origin of where coffee was discovered by a herdsman called Kaldi, I believe is how you pronounce it, where his goats ate the coffee cherries or coffee berries and swallowed them and became very active and excited. Is this origin story in Ethiopia something that you use in your marketing to help sell your coffee?
Yeah, usually we promote it. We have, by the way, in the Coffee and Tea Authority, who is in charge of managing the coffee business in Ethiopia. Their logo shows that Kaldi and his goat.
So one other focus, and you touched on it earlier, and definitely around the product of honey. But first of all, you're a woman-owned company, and in addition to that, many of your workers are women. So major kudos to you for that, because I think empowering other women is super important. Walk us through, just to give us more context, like how many employees do you have today? How many of those are women? And then how many workers do you have during harvest time?
My permanent employees, they are about 50, and only 12 of them are women, because women in that area are not that much trained to work in the offices. So these ones also, I train them in the storage, in the documentation at the office. That's how I train them. But for the seasonal employees, especially during the harvest season, we employ up to 350 people, and more than 60% are women.
Well, I think you're having a significant impact on and setting an outstanding example of, not only empowering women, but also making sure that you're recognizing their contribution, across the board.
Dehab, I want to ask, of course, about the coffee and how it tastes, because I'm an avid coffee drinker and I'm still learning about all the various types of washes and processing methods and ultimately how it tastes when you drink it. But I saw that you are doing 3 different processes.
What we do is improving the quality of the naturals. So we try to trace every coffee from seedling to bag. So if you find bag number 5 in my store, you can trace it back to the block where it's brought. So this helps us to cut some irregularities in between, which can affect the quality of the coffee. This special process they create an opportunity for customers who are looking for special kind of process, for unique process, unique tastes. So I'm using these coffees to promote my products, my farm, so that I can sell the natural also. That's how I'm doing the special process.
And with the anaerobic and the honey, because it's my understanding, right, you need tanks and things like that for anaerobic processing. Do you have to take do you have to travel with the coffee to Addis or somewhere else to do those processes, or were you able to build that near the farm?
What I do for the honey, I have a small hand pulper, which I use for seedling preparation, and then it separates the pulp and the bean. And the pulp is used for tea, cascara, and the bean is dried on raised beds, like with a strict follow-up. It might create a big mold, so you have to have enough people on the beds so that they can follow by turning now and then. That's how I prepare the honey. Usually we dry them not over open to sun, but we put on some shades, and then we dry it for about 20 to 25 days.
So I'm going to jump in here for a second. I'm curious if American roasters have different buying preferences versus other countries throughout the world. When you're looking at like fully washed or anaerobic or honey or natural, do you see that do you find that American roasters have different buying preferences?
I think at the very beginning, the anaerobic and the honey was introduced in America. That's what I read at least. And nowadays, the Europe market is also looking for the honey and anaerobic process. But at the beginning, it was, I think, in the US market. And for the roasters, I think all of them nowadays are looking for unique coffees. It could be unique due to process or due to its very nature, maybe a new area, a new growing area. They're looking for new. Yeah, everybody is just fed up about the existing ones, and everybody is looking for new ones. That's what I'm looking in the international market.
So, okay, I have a question about Ethiopia in general and kind of coffee. I saw there's what's referred to as a coffee ceremony. Can you walk us through sort of the experience of a coffee ceremony there in Ethiopia and what it signifies?
We can say, I think in Ethiopia, in every family, at least once per day, at least once. In some areas, they prepare 3 times. But in every corner of Ethiopia, I can say, we prepare once per day. And the process takes maybe an hour or so. Then you prepare charcoal, and then you bring the green coffee, and then roast it with a kind of pan which is locally prepared. And then the house smells very great. You know, the smell of Ethiopian coffee, the aroma. And you call your neighbors, and then there is a phrase called bunna totu. You send the children in the room to call your neighbors that coffee is ready. So everybody in the neighborhood will come. And especially for women, it's a kind of gathering. We can say they discuss about their kids, they discuss about their husbands, their own problems maybe. They talk everything. Everything is raised over the coffee ceremony. So we can say it is a connection point for the women. They can share their problems, and then they can get advice from their friends. And it's a social gathering. I don't know how to tell you, but it's a very big social event which builds the motherhood. That's how they build the connection within the society.
Is there any other thing that you would recommend or place that you would recommend in Ethiopia if listeners were thinking about going and visiting and wanting to experience Ethiopia? Of course, Kafa and your farm would be obvious. Anything else?
Coffee is not just only a drink. It's by far better than that. So if you are working in coffee and you visit Kafa, your mindset, your thinking of coffee will be changed. That's what I understand when I visit Kafa. And then beyond Kafa, you can visit, if you prefer historical sites, you can go to northern part of Ethiopia. There are so many rock-hewn churches which you can visit. But also you can visit, if you would like bird watching, you can go to southern part of Ethiopia.
Maybe you can share a story of like one memorable story that stands out to you from your years in coffee from this past decade. It could be something that is like simply like personal or just very special to you, or maybe it's an aha moment that you had in building your company? You know, something you haven't shared already.
Once I learned about coffee, I started training my employees. So when I start tracing the coffee from seedling to cup, I have to train them on how to avoid especially molds and on how to sort the properly mature beans from the immature beans. So since they know I know nothing about coffee before, they were not willing to accept my advice. So what I do is I just prepare informal cupping at the farm. As I told you, there is no electricity, but I just prepared informal cupping, and I prepared the moldy one in a separate cup and the immature one in a separate cup and the very clean coffee in a separate cup. And then they started, oh my God, they started managing the molds, especially the molds. If they found out there is a small sort of mold in one bed, everybody in that company will say, don't mix this bed with the other coffees. It will spoil the coffee. So training is what matters for anybody.
Can you share even just an industry stat that you find interesting, or just a fact that most coffee consumers probably don't know?
Traditionally, we drink coffee, we put on some salt. And many people, yeah. And nowadays, even we drink coffee with a salt. Especially if you go to my farm, you will see some people prefer to drink with salt. Recently, for the last 30, 40 years, people drink with sugar. But in Ethiopia, the most common one is we drink with salt. So,
Is that the traditional way of drinking it?
yeah, yeah, that's the
Wow.
traditional way of drinking.
I
Oh
never
my
knew
gosh.
that.
I didn't
Yeah.
either. I'm gonna try it. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Try it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just a pinch. Okay, that's great. Well, Dahab, it was wonderful to talk to you and hear your amazing story. I just could hear about coffee from you all day. We want to give the listeners an opportunity to find out more about you. Can you tell us where they can go to find out more about your journey and about your coffee?
Yeah, they can visit my website. I have a nice looking website. Yeah, they can visit my website, and in the near future, I will have a kind of my story. I will load on YouTube. I have a good record of the forest. Dahab like my name, and add coffee. Nothing else. Dahab coffee.
Perfect.
Dot com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dehab. We appreciate your time and absolutely love your story. And I have the best takeaway with adding a pinch of salt to my coffee. I'm trying that first thing tomorrow morning.
Yes, thanks so much, Dehab, and thank you to our followers as well. We want to hear from you, of course. You can always reach out to us at connect@u3coffee.com in the comments with your guest recommendations, what you're drinking, and your own coffee tips and tricks.
Absolutely. And again, that's connect@u3coffee.com, or head to the letter U, the number 3, coffee.com, where you can learn, connect, and explore the wonderful world of coffee. We'll see you next time.